Hello everyone, welcome to our session today. I am going live. I'm going to be talking about the wisdom of our premenstrual cycle. But before we do this, I'm going to invite you to drop in. So we're going to take a few grounding breaths to arrive in our body before receiving the information around the wisdom of your premenstrual cycle. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. I always do a little wiggle, lean back. And I invite you to bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your womb. And then just for a moment, you might close your eyes here or have a soft gaze. But I invite you to feel that contact point. Feel the weight of your hands on your heart and your womb. Notice the temperature of your hands, of your fingers. Notice the weight of your hands on these two sacred areas. And with your eyes closed, or again with a soft gaze, start to become aware of your breath. Notice your in-breath. And notice your out breath. And perhaps you bring your breath to these two areas, heart and womb, womb and heart. And now I'm going to invite you to take grounding breaths. And what we're going to do is we're going to exhale the air from our lungs. We're going to empty our lungs. Then we're going to inhale through the nose, filling up both lungs and taking a little pause once we get to the top of our lungs, when our lungs are full. And then you're going to exhale out through the mouth, slow and intentionally. Let's do that twice more. Inhale through the nose. Pause. Exhale out. One more time. Come back to your natural breath. Making any sounds you need. Connecting to the body, giving yourself a squeeze. My hands are feeling quite cold, so I'm just going to warm them up. So welcome again. Today's session is all about offering an alternative perspective, an alternative belief or view around the premenstrual cycle. This perspective that this is a time that is crazy, that is erratic, that we dread, a time that we lose absolute control, we don't recognize ourselves. And, when I think of, I often intentionally use premenstrual phase because a lot of the times what this whole phase, what people refer to it as, is like PMSing. That this whole phase, the only thing that comes out of this phase is the symptoms you experience. And this is where I want to kind of shift that perspective, okay? Our premenstrual phase offers so much wisdom, and we're going to unpack that today. However, I just want you to pause and think about how many times you've heard this, how many times it's been said to you, and perhaps how many times you've also said this to somebody else. The whole element of, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you PMSing? Or she's acting crazy, she must be PMSing. This whole element of when you're not acting or behaving in a specific way that is appropriate to our culture, that we assume or we call out somebody and be like, it's because you're PMSing and that you're crazy, right? And the thing is that craziness is a truth teller. And I'm going to unpack this further in our talk today. It is often caused because we are living against our cyclical nature. And of course, we're living against our cyclical nature. We're living in a patriarchal society that is very linear, that runs on a 24-hour cycle, right? According to the male biology. And it doesn't honor or value our cyclical selves. Not only does it not honor or value us, it doesn't even acknowledge the fact that women, that people who menstruate are cyclical. So of course, we've been brought up and conditioned to go against our cyclical nature. And then of course, we are now experiencing all these symptoms, specifically in our premenstrual phase. And PMS is very real. Between 80 to 90% of women experience PMS. All right? And there are about 150 different symptoms that are associated to this phase. And so if you're one of the women or one of the people who menstruate who experience significant, painful, annoying symptoms, right? It's quite normal that you're going to dread this phase. It's quite normal you're going to hate this phase because you know what's coming. You know the mood swings are coming, the anxiety, the insomnia. You know that you're going to be dealing with bloating, with acne, with intense cravings. You might have breast pain, back pain, joint pain. There's so much going on, right? And so these symptoms obviously make it that it's not enjoyable. This is not a time that you will look forward to. Now, the shift here is that all of those symptoms that you're experiencing in your premenstrual phase, the shift here is that those are all requests from your body to do something differently. All those symptoms that you are experiencing in your premenstrual phase are a request from your body to do something differently. Because when we are living in alignment, when our hormones are balanced, our premenstrual phase is mild. We experience minimal symptoms. So if you're moving through your cycle, and especially the cycle phase, that is erratic, that is like a roller coaster, where you don't even recognize yourself and you feel like you are a victim to your hormones, remember that this is a request from your body to listen. This is a request from your body to do something different. Because it doesn't have to be full of high highs and low lows, right? When your hormones are in balance and you're living in accordance to your cyclical nature, this phase will be mild. It will be smooth. And you'll learn that there's so much wisdom that is present in this time. That you could tap into your most intuitive and wise self. So it's important that we recognize that we're not trying to change anything in our biology. We're not trying to change how we experience the cycle phases. When we live cyclically, what we're trying to do, or what we are doing, is that we are acknowledging each cycle phase and we're adapting how we live, how we behave, how we eat, how we move our body, how much rest we're getting, all of that. We adapt according to the needs of our cycle phases, right? So yes, after you ovulate and you transition into your luteal phase, right? There's a shift that happens. Your hormones change. There's going to be a drop from this peak phase, your ovulation phase. There's going to be a drop in estrogen, and there's going to be a rise in progesterone. And now this shift in our hormones are going to require us to adapt accordingly. All right? So what this calls for is three things. We're going to have to acknowledge that yes, there's a shift that's occurring, right? We're going to have to become aware of what that shift means. What are the qualities that arise once I enter into my luteal phase? And then how do I support myself so that I could live in alignment with the cycle phase? So I want to share with you, just going to have some water. I'm going to share with you what the qualities are, the tendencies, the patterns of this cycle phase. And then the reflection here is to notice, do you work towards, I don't want to use the word work, but do you allow yourself to tap into these qualities during this phase? Or are you attached to the energy and the experience of your ovulation phase? Because oftentimes we hold on to the energy of that peak phase, the ovulation phase, and we resist what is being asked of us in our premenstrual phase. And that's where a lot of the challenges occur. Because what are we doing? We're swimming upstream. We're ignoring the body's needs versus flowing with the current. So this is the request. This is the contemplation that I ask of you. So I'm going to share some of the most common or the primary qualities of this phase. Now remember, you're shifting from your peak phase, right? Or peak level of estrogen. It's shifting to progesterone. Now, progesterone is a more yin quality. It is asking you to move away from the yang in towards the yin and slow down. It is your preparation for bleeding. So imagine if the seasons in nature would go from summer straight to winter, with no in between. There's no fall, there's no autumn. It's the same thing that happens to us on a monthly basis. Your body is preparing you for menstruation or conception, depending if conception happens, right? So it's this preparation. So it's an invitation to go from summer to inner fall. It's your invitation to slow down. And you'll notice that with this energy of progesterone in our bodies and less estrogen, the desire is to slow down, to go from an outward energy to a more inner, contemplative and reflective energy. There's a desire to be around less people, to be solo, or to also spend more time one-on-one or in smaller groups. You'll notice here that you're much more sensitive. So who you're spending your time with is important, and how you're spending your time is important. There's a desire to become more creative and tap into your own self-expression. And there's a huge need here during this time when our energy shifts in this way to set healthy boundaries. So if you're saying yes when you mean to say no, I could guarantee you that during this phase, you're going to have a lot of frustration. You're going to have a lot of irritability because you're not honoring your true needs. Setting healthy boundaries, specifically in this phase, is vital, right? This is the time where everything that is being hidden or suppressed is under the surface, bubbles up to the surface. So your PMS can be a sign that you are ignoring your needs. And it could be your monthly reminder to be truthful. It's like it's a no BS, no bullshit phase. It is your truth-telling phase. So after me sharing these types of qualities, that energy, that softness of the premenstrual phase, I want you to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, and I'm just looking at this comment, and I'll look at it. I'll respond to it later if I can. I just got sidetracked. Okay, go ahead. So yes, I want you to be honest with yourself in this time. So how do you actually adapt to your premenstrual phase? Do you adapt to your premenstrual phase? Do you allow that shift that is happening within you internally, hormonally, do you adapt and support it? And if you don't, well, here I just shared with you the qualities that are in line with this phase. What can you do in your life to start supporting and cultivating that kind of energy? And I also invite you to notice if the same themes are coming up each month. Are you getting annoyed? Are you getting frustrated at the exact same thing every month? Much better as you're getting older. Yes, exactly. So if every month you're getting frustrated or you're getting annoyed at the same thing, there's an overlying theme. There's something there. I want you to look below that. I want you to look deeper on what is actually going on. What need is not being addressed? And now I also have a video up of the 3 things that are messing with your period health. Have a look at that, because again, our lifestyle, how we live, how we nourish ourselves, how much we sleep, how we manage stress, all of that impacts us in our cycle. And so it's not just our period health, but it would also impact our premenstrual health, or the way we experience our premenstrual phase. But why I love this phase so much, and this used to be the phase that I struggled with the most, okay? My stomach would be super, super bloated, like so much that like the skin was pulling. My breast would be so sore, so much that it hurt when I walked. I'd like have to hold my breast when I was walking, yeah? And I was incredibly irritable and frustrated and angry. It was a wild time. But I love this phase so much because it was actually telling me, you've got to change things, Stella. You've got to shift the way you live your life because it is not serving me. And now I know that when I'm doing things in alignment, because my premenstrual phase comes super mild or absolutely no symptoms at all. And then I know when things are out of alignment because my breasts start to get tender. I notice my belly being extremely bloated. I'm like, okay, something's off. And it's okay because it's just a pointer to telling me, guiding me into a different direction. You know? I don't judge that. I'm like, okay, let's shift. I notice I've been doing this more or not enough of that. So what I want to leave you with, this contemplation. What if all the symptoms that you have during your premenstrual phase are a pointer towards what you really need? What if your symptoms are a pointer to what you truly need? And what if your PMS is your biggest teacher? I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what resonates. Let me know if you have any questions. And I just want to leave you with those 2 questions. And notice how you have been living in your premenstrual phase, and notice where you could start to create a little bit of shifts so that you could support the needs of your body in this time. Thank you so much for all of you for being here.